The sky above the ruined planet was silent, filled with cold stars and drifting smoke. Jack, a human scout, walked through the remains of an old alien battlefield. His boots crunched softly over broken metal, frozen dust, and bones that didn't look human. His rifle was ready. Out here no one came to help. Out here, death was quiet and sudden. He had been searching for salvage, anything useful. Food, fuel, wires, scrap. But he found only ruins. Then a sound broke the silence. A distant boom. Something had entered the atmosphere fast. Jack looked up. A small pod came crashing through the sky, glowing red with heat. It hit the ground not far from him, kicking up dust and debris. Jack ran toward it, gun raised, unsure if it was friendly or deadly. When he reached the crash site, he saw the pod was small, barely big enough for one passenger. The hatch had popped open and thick steam poured out. Jack stepped closer, carefully. Inside, something moved. Then he saw her. A girl, alien but not like the ones he'd fought before. She had soft silver-blue skin and glowing violet eyes. Her body was shaking and she was bleeding from her arm and shoulder. Her clothes were torn, burned away in the crash. She was naked, bruised, and curled up in a ball. Jack froze. She looked up at him slowly, her lips dry and trembling. Her eyes widened in fear when she saw his weapon. Then, to his shock, she pushed herself forward, crawling out of the pod with weak arms. She dropped to her knees in the dirt, and then she whispered, her voice shaking, "Don't kill me, human. I'll warm your bed." Jack didn't move. A second. He thought he'd heard her wrong. But she said it again, slower this time. "Don't kill me, human. I'll warm your bed." His grip tightened on the rifle. Was this a trick? A trap? Some kind of mind game? But there was no weapon. In her hands, no threat in her voice. Only fear. She was trembling from the cold, from pain and something else. Shamed, Jack lowered his gun, just a little. "Who are you?" he asked quietly. The girl blinked slowly. Her skin was covered in thin lines, branding marks, faded symbols. Burned into her arms and back. She wasn't a soldier. She was something else, something thrown away. He moved closer, carefully. She didn't fight. She just stayed on her knees, head bowed. Jack pulled off his coat and wrapped it around her shoulders. She gasped softly at the warmth, holding it close. Her fingers were small and shaking. Her body was so thin, he could feel her bones under the skin. "I'm not going to hurt you," he said. But the girl looked up at him with confused eyes. "Then why, take me?" she asked. "I didn't take you. You crashed near me." "I found you," Jack replied. She nodded slowly, as if trying to understand. Then, "Am I yours now?" Jack frowned. "No one owns you." Her eyes filled with tears, big, silent ones that rolled down her cheeks. "But someone always owns me." Didn't know what to say to that. He picked her up carefully, trying not to hurt her any more than she already was. She was light to lighten her. Skin was cold. He carried her back to his small shelter, hidden under the rocks, covered with metal scraps and dust. Inside it was dark and quiet, lit by a single low lamp. He laid her down on a soft bedroll near the heat source and brought water to her lips. She drank like she hadn't tasted water in days. Jack gave her food. It's just a protein bar, but she took it like it was a gift from heaven. She ate slowly, looking at him between each bite. "What's your name?" he asked. She hesitated, then whispered, "Zariah." "Okay, Zariah. You're safe now." "Safe." She repeated the word, as if testing it. "With you?" Yes. She curled up on the bedroll, hugging the coat tighter around her. Then she said, "If you want me to. Warm your bed, I can. I'm trained for that." Jack stood still for a moment, heart heavy. "No," he said softly. "Just sleep. That's all you need to do." Zariah blinked slowly, and she turned away, curling up like a small animal, her thin body shaking less now. The warmth was working, but Jack knew this was just the beginning. Who had sent her? Why was she left alone in a pod? And why did she think being near a human meant offering her body? Something was deeply wrong. And if she was being hunted, he might be hunted too. He checked the radar. No signals yet, but in the cold dark outside, danger always came without warning, and now he wasn't alone anymore. Zariah didn't move much during the night. She lay curled in Jack's coat, close to the heater, her breathing soft and slow. Jack stayed awake, sitting nearby, his rifle close. He had seen many things in the war, but never an alien girl who begged for her life that way. Never one who looked more like a lost child than a threat. At first light, Jack boiled water and opened another ration. The smell filled the small shelter. Zariah stirred. Her glowing eyes opened, slowly, blinking. At the warmth. Food, Jack said gently. Holding out a warm cup and half a meal bar, she sat up slowly, her movements stiff and careful. Her skin still looked bruised, but the shaking had stopped. Her silver blue hands reached out for the food, but then she paused. "Is this for me?" she asked. Jack nodded. "Yes, eat." She looked down, confused. "I didn't earn it." Frowned. "You don't have to earn food, just eat." She obeyed, but her eyes never left his face, as if she was waiting for a command or a strike. Jack had seen this look before, not on the battlefield, but in the refugee camps. The broken ones. The ones who had been owned. When she finished eating, she touched the edge of his coat and whispered, "Why are you kind to me?" "You crashed near me," Jack said. "You were hurt. Don't leave people to die." "I'm not a person," she whispered, barely loud enough to hear. Jack sat down across from her. "Who told you that?" She was quiet. Jack tried another question. "Why were you in that pod?" Zariah looked down. Her hands gripped the coat tightly. "I was sent away." "By who? My own kind?" "They didn't want me anymore." Jack's stomach turned. "Why?" Zariah pulled her arms out from the coat slowly. She turned them over and showed him the skin. There, burned into her flesh, were old mark symbols that looked like they had been seared in with heat. They said I was born weak, not fit for the throne. I was just a tool to be trained for, ... comfort. Jack's jaw clenched. He recognized. Those marks now? Slave brands. Royal property? You were a princess? He asked. She nodded. By blood, but not by choice. When war came to our world, they offered me to your kind like a gift. A peace token. But no one picked me. So they threw me into the pod and launched me toward your territory, hoping someone would take me, or I'd just vanish. Jack stared at her, speechless. They thought if a human found me, Zariah said, I would be claimed. Like an animal. Used. Jack stood and walked to the far wall, his thoughts racing. This wasn't just a random crash. She was dropped here on purpose. Like garbage. Or bait. I wasn't supposed to survive, she whispered behind him. Jack turned back. She was looking at him, eyes wide, but calm. You could sell me, she said. Others would. Jack stepped forward slowly. I'm not others. Tilted her head. Then why are you still here? Crouched beside her, not too close, because no one should be treated like you were. Not on my watch. Zariah touched her neck. The collar was removed before launch, but the pain stayed. It always stays. Jack looked into her eyes, deep violet, glowing but tired, not just from pain, but from life itself. You said something strange yesterday, he said. She nodded. I know. I'll warm your bed. Why did you say that? Zariah looked away, 'cause I thought that was what you wanted. That's what I was trained to say if I wanted to live. Jack was silent for a long moment. You don't have to say that anymore. She looked up again. Then, ... What do I say? He smiled gently. Anything you want. Zariah blinked. Silence. Filled the room, but it wasn't cold anymore. Suddenly, the alarm buzzed. A soft red light blinked on. Jack's radar console movement. Near the outer rocks. Zariah's expression changed instantly. Fear? No, she said, standing up fast. They found me. Who? Jack asked, grabbing his rifle. The hunters. If I'm alive, they'll want to fix that. Jack looked toward the entrance, then back at her. Then they'll have to go through me first. The night was tense. Jack sat with his back against the cold steel wall, rifle loaded and ready. Outside, no movement yet, but the scanner had picked up something. And he knew Zariah wasn't lying. She sat in the corner of the shelter, knees pulled to her chest, eyes wide open. She didn't sleep, not even for a second. Every sound outside made her flinch. She was afraid to breathe too loud, afraid to relax, afraid to hope. But Jack noticed something strange. She kept glancing at his bed. It was nothing fancy. It's just a thin mattress on the floor, one pillow, and an old military blanket. But Zariah stared at it like it was something important.
Sacred.
Even when Jack finally spoke, his voice was quiet. What is it? You want to lie down? Zariah blinked. That's your bed, yes? He nodded. She stood up slowly, her thin body still sore from the crash, and walked over to it. She touched the blanket with her fingertips, then looked back at him. May I sit here? She asked. Jack nodded again. She sat on the edge of the mattress, carefully, like it might vanish. Then she looked up at him and whispered, You told me not to warm your bed, but I want to. Jack tilted his head. Why? She hesitated. Then she answered softly, Because I want you to let me stay. There was no seduction in her voice. It's no trick. Just a quiet plea from someone who had never been safe before. I don't understand what a real bed means to humans, she said, but I know this one is warm. You sleep here and you're not afraid. I want that too. Jack sat down across from her. You can stay, Zariah. You don't have to offer anything. She looked confused. My world, no one gives shelter. Without taking something. I'm not from your world. Zariah lowered her gaze. Then teach me. What does it mean ... to rest? To be allowed to stay without fear? Jack didn't speak right away, simply pulled a blanket from the storage bin and placed it beside her. This is how we rest, he said. You lie down, close your eyes, and let your body forget the pain for a while. Zariah lay back slowly, curling under the blanket like a child. Her eyes stared at the ceiling. Are you watching me? She asked. I'm guarding you. Her lips moved into the faintest smile. Then I'll try. She turned on her side, pulled the blanket closer, and let her eyes shut halfway. Jack stayed up again, rifle in hand. But this time, something felt different. He wasn't just guarding a survivor. He was guarding someone who had never been allowed to feel safe. Hours passed. Zariah's breathing slowed. She didn't fully sleep, but she didn't shake anymore. And just when Jack thought the night would pass quietly, the radar lit up again, 2 signatures now closer. He stood up fast and scanned the entry tunnel. No sound yet, but something was coming. He turned to Zariah. You need to hide. She sat up quickly. They're here. Jack handed her a small communicator. If I tell you to run, go. There's a tunnel out the back. She nodded, but her hand touched his sleeve. If they kill you, I'll still run, but I won't be alive inside anymore. Jack looked at her. He didn't say anything, but deep down, something inside him shifted. This wasn't a rescue anymore. This was personal. Now someone had broken her. Now they were coming to break her again. But this time, she wasn't alone. The moment was still, too still. The shelter's walls gave no warning, just silence. Before danger, Jack watched the motion sensor blink again, then freeze. Whoever was coming had stopped moving. He turned to Zariah. Her body was tight, coiled like a spring. Her eyes were glowing faintly, not with power, but fear. They know this place, she whispered. They always know. Jack pressed his finger to his lips. Stay behind me. He moved to the door and activated the outside cam. The feed was blurry from dust, but 2 shapes stood at the edge of the rocks. Not locals, not scavengers. Hunters 1. Tall and armored, the other lean and fast. Jack narrowed his eyes. They're not here for salvage. Zariah backed up slowly, her hand brushing the cold wall. Her voice cracked. If they see me, they'll They'll call the next group, and the next. I won't be safe again. Never. Jack turned to her. You're safe now. But you don't understand, she said, voice trembling. These aren't just hunters. They're purgers. Paid by my bloodline, my people want me erased. Jack loaded a fresh charge into his rifle. Then I guess. Your people made a mistake. He threw open the emergency hatch and stepped outside, staying behind cover. Wind howled through the rocks. The two strangers didn't speak, they simply turned toward him. Identify yourself, Jack shouted. Silence, then, the tall one spoke. Hand over the cargo. No questions, no pain. Cargo Zaraya. Jack aimed. She's not cargo. She's not yours. The armored hunter raised a weapon to slow. Jack fired first. The blast hit the enemy square in the chest, knocking him back. The second hunter moved fast, sprinting toward the shelter entrance. Jack turned to block him, but he was too quick. The door slammed open, and the hunter slid inside. Zaraya screamed. Jack ran back in, heart pounding. He found the hunter already towering over her, blade drawn. Zaraya didn't run, she dropped too. Her knees and whispered, "Don't take me back, just end it here." Jack fired once straight through the attacker's side. The hunter fell, groaning in pain, but Zaraya didn't move. Jack dropped to her side. "Why didn't you hide?" She looked up at him, tears in her glowing eyes. "Because I was tired of running." Jack helped her up and sat her down against the wall. Outside, the first hunter was gone, retreated, or dead. Jack couldn't tell. But they'd be back. Zaraya clutched her side. "I thought you'd let them take me. Everyone does." Jack wiped the blood from her cheek. "Not me." She stared at him like he was a myth. "You don't even know what I am," she whispered. "You're someone who deserves to live," he replied. "That's enough." But deep down, Jack knew this wasn't over. If two found her, more would come, and next time they might not miss. He looked at her, this fragile, broken royal girl with slave scars and hunted eyes. She didn't just need shelter. She needed someone who would stand between her and the galaxy, and that someone was now him. "Don't kill me, human," a warm your bed alien princess begged on her knees, written in third person, with simple basic English, strong emotion, and deep suspense to keep your audience watching to the end. Part 5. She tries to save him with her own body. The smoke from the rifle shot still hung in the air. Jack's heart was pounding. His hands were steady, but inside, something was breaking. The enemy was down, but not dead. And Zaraya. She sat against the wall, holding her breath, blood running down her side where the hunter's blade had scratched her skin. "I'm fine," she whispered, even though she clearly wasn't. Jack didn't believe it, but he let her have those words. Right now, she needed to feel strong. He dragged the unconscious hunter out of the shelter and locked the steel hatch. The outside was quiet again for now, but they both knew more were coming. Jack returned and began sealing the escape tunnel. Zaraya watched him, her eyes wide, her hand shaking. She spoke in a soft, hollow voice. "You don't have to fight for me." Jack kept working. "I know." "Then why do you?" He looked at her. "Because no one else ever did." Her lips trembled. Then, suddenly, she stood up and walked toward him, stumbling once before catching herself. "You don't understand," she said. "They didn't just train me to please. They changed me. My body, my mind, they made me something. It's beautiful to own, dangerous to keep." Jack frowned. "Dangerous how?" Zaraya closed her eyes. Then her skin began to glow. A soft, pulsing light spread from her chest to her arms, rising from under the scars. Not bright, but alive. Jack stared. "What is that?" "They turned my blood into power," she said. "Bioenergy. My warmth, it's real. I can give heat, ... or I can burn." Jack stepped back slightly. "That's how you survived the crash." She nodded, "But every time I use it, it eats me from inside." He looked at her carefully. "Me now. Because I want to use it for you." Before he could speak, the alarm lit up again. 3 signals. Close fast. "They're here," Zaraya said, her glow fading into panic. Jack grabbed his rifle and moved to the front wall. "There's no time to escape. I can stop them," she said behind him, If I stand outside, I can draw their fire. I can take the blast. I can burn for you. No, Jack growled. That's not saving me. That's suicide. I was made to burn, she said. But no one ever asked me who I wanted to burn for. Jack turned toward her, hand stopped. She was standing in front of the door. One hand glowing, her body shaking with power she barely controlled. Not because she was a weapon, but because she was willing to use herself to protect someone who had shown her kindness. Zariah, he said gently, you don't have to prove anything. I want to stay in your bed, she said, her voice soft, trembling. Not because I'm afraid, because it's the only place I've ever felt like I exist. The words hit Jack like a punch to the chest. I'm not ready to lose that yet, she whispered. Then she opened the door. The wind howled and dust swept across the room. Zariah stepped outside, her body lit up like fire under her skin, her feet pressing into the dirt, her eyes glowing with pure light. The three hunters froze when they saw her. She raised her hand slowly. I'm not yours anymore, she called out. The lead hunter stepped forward but didn't fire. Zariah looked back at the shelter. Jack was standing in the doorway. Rifle raised? You said you'd burn for me, he said. Then let me burn with you. Zariah blinked. For the first time, she smiled. The glow from Zariah's body faded slowly. The hunters didn't fire. They just stood there, watching her, hesitating. That was the first time Jack had seen fear in their eyes. Not fear of guns, fear of her. Zariah's breathing was heavy. Her legs shook under her weight, but she stood tall. When Jack stepped beside her, he didn't even move. Then one of the hunters whispered something in their alien tongue. Jack's translator picked it up. She's activated. Back away. The hunters turned and vanished into the rocks without. A fight. Zariah collapsed. Jack caught her before she hit the ground. She was hot to the touch, burning from within. He carried her inside, heart racing.
Nice.
She was barely conscious, eyes fluttering, lips dry. I'm okay, she whispered. That happens when I use too much, it fades. Jack set her down gently and poured water into her mouth. She drank slowly. Why? Did they run? He asked. She looked at him with tired eyes. Because they saw the truth. I'm not just a runaway. Then what are you? Zariah's voice was low now, not scared, just worn. My blood is forbidden, she said. From two worlds, my mother was a royal noble, but my father. He wasn't, Jack leaned in. He was human. No, she said. Worse, he was from a rebel caste. A warrior born without a name. My kind believes in purity. They hide what doesn't fit. That was proof they broke their own law. Jack sat beside her. So they made you disappear? Yes, she whispered. But not before trying to use me. Her fingers traced the scar on her wrist. They found out I could generate heat more than others. My blood reacts to touch, to emotion. They tested it. Me. Jack closed his eyes. He didn't need to hear the details. He already knew. It had been treated like an object. A tool. And now, she thought she belonged to him. But she didn't. She belonged to herself. You don't have to give your life to anyone, he said. Not even to me. Zariah looked at him. Then what do I give? Jack smiled gently. Just your story. She blinked. My story? Yes. Tell it. Share it. Live it. That's how you stay free. Zariah stared at the ceiling. I don't even know how to live. Then we figure it out, Jack said. Together, silence fell again. But it was a different kind of silence now. Not fear, not tension, just quiet. Safe. She closed her eyes and whispered, Do humans always fight for strangers like this? No, Jack said, just the ones worth fighting for. Zariah smiled. Not because she was trained to, but because something warm rose inside her. Not power, not duty, something real. And for the first time in her life, she'd let it stay. The next morning was different. The air was still cold, but it no longer felt heavy. The silence outside didn't carry fear. Sensor was clear. No movement, no threat. For now, the world had stopped chasing them. Zariah opened her eyes slowly, blinking at the soft light. She was wrapped in a real blanket, warm, heavy, comforting. Not stolen warmth, not the kind traded for survival. This was different. She sat up and looked around. Jack was cooking something. The smell of heated protein and clean water filled the shelter. "You're awake," he said, turning slightly. "You slept, I did," she whispered. "For the first time without dreaming of fire." Jack handed her a small bowl. "Your body's still recovering. Eat slow." She took it with both hands and smiled. "I think I'm starting to understand what a bed really is." Jack raised an eyebrow. "What's that? A place where you're allowed to breathe? A place where no one owns you?" He didn't answer, just smiled back and sat across from her. After breakfast, they worked in silence, side by side. Jack checked the shelter's power levels. Zariah helped him sort tools. She didn't ask what would happen next until the message arrived. The radio cracked an old signal, weak but clear. A human supply ship was inbound. It would pass nearby in 12 hours. There was a chance for pickup. Jack looked at Zariah. "You could leave this rock. We could go somewhere safer, somewhere better." Zariah stood still. For a long moment, she said nothing. Then she walked to the bed. She sat down slowly, brushing the blanket with her fingers. "I once thought offering my body was the only way to survive. That warming a man's bed was the only way to stay alive." Jack stayed quiet. Zariah looked up at him, her violet eyes calm. "But you didn't take anything from me. You gave me something instead." "What did I give you?" he asked gently. She smiled, her voice soft. "That feels like mine. A space that doesn't hurt.
What?
A bed that means rest, not fear." She stood and walked to him, close enough to touch, but waiting. "Jack," she whispered, "I don't want to be hidden anymore, or hunted, or owned." "Then don't," he said. "You don't have to run anymore." She reached out and touched his hand. "I want to stay in your bed," she said. "Now, not because I must, because I choose to." Jack took her hand in his. "I never wanted a princess," he said, "but I'll protect the one who chose to stand with me." Outside, the sky began to change color, soft orange rising behind broken mountains. The galaxy was still dangerous, but inside that small shelter, one alien girl and one human man had found something no war could destroy. Not power, not ownership, but something greater, a home together, forever.